Welcome back to Cantina Chronicles. This week, we're coming to you live from the Domak Refectory on Kajimi City. Just one of the many locations in Star Wars Outlaws, which we'll be talking about in the latter half of this episode. But first, I think we have some news, and we kind of wanted to toss it to Adam to talk about the rumor mill and what's going on with just Star Wars news, even though there hasn't been much this week. It's been kind of a slow week for anything Star Wars related because Outlaws is out there and it's huge and we're all playing it and it's fantastic and we can't wait to talk about it. But Adam, why don't you take it?
Nope.
Tell us about this news.
All right, I literally just unlocked the Ashiga clan, so apparently that's my next criminal network while the intro is going. But I will pause from playing this game to talk Star Wars.
That's great.
Literally just happened. So there's some rumor mill stuff. Nothing major announced, but it all kind of centers around the future of, or the plan for the future of Star Wars content. Nothing like devastating or major, but like a couple of things happened. The first is that it seems to be the new plan is one thing a year on Disney Plus. That seems to be the new kind of going.
One show?
One series. One show. One live action.
Right.
One live action. I'm guessing like they're not counting stuff. So one live action. So it seems to be that 2025 is going to be the year of Andor.
All right.
2026 is probably going to be the year of Ahsoka Season 2.
Is 2024 the year of Skeleton Crew?
I guess 2024 is the year of... We have a couple this year, right? Because we had Skeleton Crew, and before that we had Acolyte. Which also might explain another possible reason for the cancellation of the Acolyte, right? Is if they have also another season of The Mandalorian supposedly coming out, that means like Season 2 of the Acolyte would be 2027.
Yeah.
Right? Like they might only have enough bandwidth to really be doing 2 ongoing shows if you're only doing one thing a year.
Right.
Which is interesting. Yeah.
Huh. Well,
no good, again, rumor mill stuff,
yeah.
No amazing sources on this, but seems to be coming from reputable sources, like the people that kind of know.
Yeah.
Are usually more right than wrong.
My gut says the only constant is change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I feel like they'll probably change their minds to something different within the first 2-year run that they do. I don't think they're ever going to, say set. I mean, does this indicate anything about like animated series? Like, no, right?
No, it seems to be just they're talking about the live action stuff. Right. So my guess is that because they also, the thing about Disney Plus is you also want to keep driving eyeballs to Disney Plus. So you constantly have to have stuff going. And we see Marvel slowing down, right? We see Star Wars slowing down. So there might be other stuff, right? So I wonder if that means they might ramp up animation a little bit because it's less expensive. It's easier to do in some ways, and you're still getting new content. I mean, we also see stuff like Pixar has their new TV show. Like the first Pixar TV show is happening with this Inside Out spinoff. So they might be kind of expanding in other directions. But I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, so not a lot about the animated.
That's super interesting. I do hope that Star Wars sort of focuses on feature films as much of the reporting has been, saying that they want to do from the very top, which is like, let's make this a theatrical experience again. Let's bring everyone back to the theaters. I like the idea of making more movies than premium prestige, streaming shows because you already have a massive library of feature-length films in the saga films and in the standalones. If you just keep adding more to the feature-length library, I think it might bring more eyeballs to Disney Plus than a bunch of sort of like undercooked premium, series that you want to create. Which I almost think like you could do something more, I don't know, sort of just standalone in terms of like The Last of Us or Fallout, where it's just one series that is just done extraordinarily well. And Andor is a great example of this, that you just sort of like, you just stick to that one series and you make as much of sort of this high quality prestige, series that you can. And that sort of being the one series you do at a time. And then obviously they need a wide audience too. So, right, we need kids programming. We need, so much to kind of fill that wide demographic of everyone who's out there. And so that can be Young Jedi Adventures. I mean, people love that show. Like, there's so many
that
fun
not going
shows
anywhere. Okay. For having a 4-year-old, you need constant pre-K
Yes.
kindergarten like content. So that's never going anywhere. And what's interesting too is that like the two like this we're in the middle. We're getting towards the end of the great streaming experiment. And I'm not saying that means that like it's over. It means like the experiment has been run. Now we look at the results and figure out what works and what doesn't work with streaming and monetizing streaming. And the two what's always been interesting to me is when you look at Apple and Amazon, those are the two streaming platforms that actually don't make any or even close to a majority of their money through streaming content. Like Apple and Amazon both look at all of their streaming content as ways to drive people towards their other products. Like Amazon makes television shows to get people to order toilet paper on Amazon. Like
it's the business model. It's
right.
Everyone
so
who's
they don't
watching
care.
They don't care if they're spending $200 million every 4 episodes of Rings of Power if people are buying shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Because people to subscribe to Amazon Prime, which makes them their first stop point for shopping. But it's the ecosystem. It's weird, but they are doing what you're kind of talking about, Grant, which is funding one kind of big series at a time to drive eyes. Like they did Fallout. Now they're back to doing Rings of Power, right? And then they're going to take a break and do it. They're not. It's not like Rings of Power and then is also happening at the same time as Fallout, and then they're going to push you. They have this very slow and like.
But the big
Apple
budget
TV
in terms of big budget.
Big budget. And Apple TV is fascinating because I don't know what they're doing over there because they don't have like. They just funded the 5th season of with a spinoff of what's the space one, the space show. I'm literally watching it right now and I can't remember what it's called. The Mars movie, show.
I don't know.
We'll talk about it.
I don't have the Apple.
For All Mankind. For All Mankind.
The singular viewer of us 3 that watches.
For All Mankind, which also, by the way, everyone should be watching For All Mankind who likes speculative fiction and speculative sci-fi. It's fascinating. It's actually, I would highly recommend that show. It's 2 seasons in, but no one's watching that show.
Trying to
and it's expensive.
Wrap my mind around the 3-body problem. So but I do try to build.
But I think you're right. I think a lot of these other streaming platforms like Disney is looking at what like they're doing and saying, well, that seems to be the way. Is that in a lot of ways. I think they're seeing like Disney is going back to, like you said, movies are what you're doing. Like they tried this, they tried to get everyone, they got every single person they possibly can to subscribe to Disney Plus. Now all you can do is lose people. You're not going to get another person. You're not going to get at this point. You're not going to get an extra person.
I think what Disney's trying to do right now is find their second Andor. Essentially, this second massive show that is written exceptionally well and sort of thought out to, within an inch of its life, that is incredible, has a lot to say, like Andor, and then oscillate between the two. Like we talked about Amazon, like Rings of Power, Fallout, like oscillating between these two massive budget IP properties, but like just knocking out of the park with each season feeling like a complete story. And I mean, Rings of Power obviously is this one long form story that I think has been felt as sort of mediocre and sort of abandoning a lot of what Tolkien set up and sort of like doing its own thing. But at the same time, I think now fans are coming around and seeing that actually we're about to get to very interesting territory that I think everyone's been interested in for a very long time that Tolkien covers, but hasn't, we haven't done the moment to moment, minute to minute sort of like, what is the Elrond Isildur relationship? Like what's going to happen there? I want to know.
Yeah, they're good.
As a person who considers himself like a middling Lord of the Rings fan, meaning like I like it, I appreciate it, I understand it, enjoy the movies, read the books, like it. I like that show enough. Does that make sense? Like that show does enough to get me coming back every week to be like, this scratches this itch.
Yeah,
but not at a deep level.
I think we might be selling the Mandalorian short. You're talking about like one run through thing. I mean, Andor stands head and shoulders in my opinion. But I mean, it's definitely going to end after season 2. I mean, Mandalorian's experienced a lot of success. Yeah. And I mean, they're going to do a feature. But, I think as long as Favreau and Filoni want to work on that show, I bet they'll let them keep making it. And that could be your long run show. We talked about it even before it came out. Like this could be your sort of Lone Samurai, sort of Wolf and Cub.
Should
be.
Never understand
forever. Yeah, it could technically just go on forever. I could watch them just go on adventures forever. They're just great avatars. Everyone loves them. It's in a fun time period. There's a bunch of great characters. You can have some great overlap. You could just let them go.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be your sort of
But where
backbone.
are they during the sequel trilogy? I think a lot of us want to know.
Well, it's
why
almost 30
they're not
years
involved.
away.
I was about to say we got 30 seasons to figure it out.
It almost doesn't matter. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so far away. Like they'll never get there.
Is
They'll
that
never
not
even get to the
end?
first
Isn't
order.
that the sort of end though? Like I do love them walking to the sunset as sort of the ending of every episode. Like we've talked about a million times, but it's I do want it to amount to something, or like I do want to know where they are in the timeline.
Yeah, I think
especially if we're going to jump away from this, right? And like what we're talking about is that Disney's maybe changing rails to do more feature-length films and leaving TV behind. But like we're going to talk about Outlaws in a bit, and we're talking about Andor, and we're talking about like it does feel like there's like some eulogy or a final send-off to sort of like the Galactic Civil War happening, like a sort of like let's just keep using as much as we can of the Galactic Civil War in the original trilogy, and then I think the new territory is just taking a while to build, and we're just in that scaffolding period, and it's I'm sure a lot of incredible, talented, creative people are working on their take of a kind of completely new galaxy, like, and that's coming.
Yeah.
We have to kind of stick to the old still, and like as that's being built, right? That takes a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Right.
So.
I mean, we're at least 5 years away from that, right? But I mean, if we look at the timeline, it's like, we've got Skeleton Crew coming up this year, Andor next year, then Ahsoka 2026, then the feature film 2026, and probably the Mandalorian movie the next year. So like we could end up with like a live action series and a feature film each year, and if that ends up the cadence, that'd be great. And then once we get once the Rey feature film comes out, if that's around 26, 27, or maybe those two come out in 1 year, they might, they've said they were, that was in the plans at one point. Then you can start playing with what you're talking about, Grant, and hopefully people are working on it now in conjunction to like do the stuff that works around it.
If Star Wars looks like one feature film, one live action, one animated series a year, I'm happy.
That'd be great.
That's all I've ever wanted. Like that's amazing. Yeah. And I don't feel, because frankly, I gotta say this, I am weirdly feeling a bit Star Wars oversaturated at times. Like to the point where like it's starting to feel a little less special to me. I like less to me sometimes, and not like that's. By the way, I'm asking for a person who went through the dark times, right, where there's like no Star Wars happening ever. For me to just say, to me, is just be like, but I'd be okay with just like 3 things a year.
Yeah.
It's still so much compared to what we used to get, right?
Yeah.
But I, so I'm not like completely mental where I just was like, no, take 5 years off and give me nothing. No.
Those are champagne problems.
One of each things.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's incredible.
And what's interesting is I'm wondering if, Andor is the only thing on the list of live action that's not part of the Mandoverse, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if this one series a year is not what we're talking about. Something within the Filoni, Favreau Mandoverse, right? Where that is like that thing. And then, maybe they'll get a creative who comes along. They're open for anything where maybe someone, a very special creative comes along, pitches an idea, much like Favreau did. They're like, all right, fine, we'll fund an extra Star Wars show this year.
How many years of Snoke do creators have to mine?
Plenty.
Like, was it around 15 years?
Yeah.
Like, when did he come out of the shadows? Like, when did
you
that
want the Snoke show?
Like, I know Bloodlines covers like loyalists.
Well, no, it's
and like that part.
Yeah, he's not in Bloodlines. We've gotten almost no Snoke.
We got comic book Snoke, but it was in the Kylo Ren series.
In the Kylo Ren, and that's the only one I can think of.
I think you're going to get a lot more Snoke, right? Like, isn't that where Filoni and Favreau
I think
are going?
so.
Is Snoke?
I think so.
I think we're getting figure out the Snoke.
Yeah, figure out all the Snoke stuff. Yeah.
I think they can just drop like first order hints for season after season after season. I mean,
do you want that then? Do you want for like the origins of the First Order and Snoke, and like for like 2-3 seasons?
I don't mind.
It's already been 2 or 3 seasons of it. I mean, we saw almost.
I mean, the Shadow Council in last
Shadow Council, but we're
getting Thrawn. We're getting Heir to the Empire, so we should just talk about that for a minute. Like we are getting Heir to the Empire in live action. Like that is going to happen. Essentially.
All right, so can I read the let's get. Sorry, I know.
It's with the rebels instead of Luke, but it's fine.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm trying to find where this quote was from. I know that's a great way to start, but again, this is like rumor corner.
No,
right?
I love this. This is great.
This is a direct quote from Favreau. It's nothing earth-shattering. He said, I don't know why I'm getting Skype a news alert. It says, part of what we're setting out to do is to have something that rewards people who have been with the show since the beginning, been with Star Wars since the beginning. That second, the ... been with Star Wars since the beginning is what's fascinating me, because I'm like, from the show from the beginning, I'm like, great, okay, so like, so
they're coming in hot.
So they are. I mean, everyone's done it. There's been a lot of honoring the expanded universe.
A lot, but the fact that he's also saying that specifically about the movie, that this is going to reward, like, because that's what we need are rewards. Yeah. But we're gonna get rewarded with something from not only from following the show from the beginning, but Star Wars from the beginning. We're getting Han, Han, Luke, and Leia.
I don't understand why people have a problem with this. This is, you're literally making candy. It's what we all want to see. It's the creators themselves are dying to make this moment perfect, and they know that like we all want to see Thrawn come back to the galaxy and start this sort of like small scale war that is maybe not in the history books, but it's pretty big amongst the the New Republic and remnant.
The other thing I like about the way Favreau approaches it is that he does fan service, right? But it feels like he's doing fan service for himself.
Yes.
I'm a fan and I'm servicing myself.
Yeah.
And you're.
But that's actually what I want, Adam. Can I make a big argument about how I think a lot of massively popular commercial juggernaut IPs are basically like sort of created quickly, and there's not a lot of care in the process.
What? No, they're all really thoughtful, thought out,
or maybe just brought on board to do these things. Who are just And I'm not. I don't think this is the case most of the time. I think most of the time everyone's very passionate about the work they're doing. In no way am I saying.
But I think a lot of times it's like, what's the big name? What's the new name? What's the biggest thing? Like
there's just a lot of. It's just a pipeline to get movies out. Whereas if someone just has a really deep connection to the comic book, the IP, the cartoon, or whatever the sort of material novel that they're getting into and sort of adapting, satisfy yourself as a fan of that work, because. It's just going to lead to all the moments that we're going to love as fans of that work.
Yeah. Because here's the other thing about Favreau is he's not a deep Star Wars lore nerd. He's just not. I guarantee you that man, prior to starting to write the stuff, didn't read a single Star Wars novel, hadn't read a single Star Wars comic book, but he is a student of film and a person who grew up around it, and he grew up around watching the Star Wars movies, I'm guessing obsessively. And so what he did was write what he thought was Star Wars. I think he knocked it out of the park. Yeah. You watch that first episode, it feels like, I'm like, oh, I could not believe when I was sitting there playing, watching it, going, he figured out he cracked Star Wars.
There's a great YouTube video of him sort of talking about story structure and Star Wars, and designing a Star Wars scene, and sort of establishing shots and characters and action, and then all of how you block that out in the shot. Yeah. And he's just mastered this craft, which is the sort of, I would say, like New Hollywood, Lucas, Spielberg, Coppola, like Scorsese craft, which is like, you sometimes the static shot is good, sometimes the establishing shot is good, and you don't need to do a lot of creative movement with the camera. There's a lot that just can be done that just establishes, and a lot of the things in the frame are then doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Right.
Yeah.
He knows all of that. He knows how that connects to Star Wars, making Star Wars. He understands the plot structure, the hero's journey, all that stuff. And then he knows like the basics. And then he brought in Filoni, right?
That's your nerd.
Was connected with
your nerd in your pocket.
That's your nerd who also loves Star Wars, right? And to a certain extent, maybe not to the same level, but we got, to me, which is why I will say this, and we can debate this over and over again. I think Solo is the closest live action Star Wars film to Star Wars.
Can we talk about Solo? How good Solo is? Like that movie is so good, and people just constantly, I think, make disparaging remarks about it and think it's just, I don't know, because it wasn't. This is the whole thing. Andor didn't get a lot of eyeballs, but it's kind of a hearts and minds piece. Like it's winning over everyone who's a fan of Star Wars. It is like the most four-quadrant thing of all times in terms of like fan and critical appeal. You know what I mean? And like those are the kind of shows that I think Star Wars is seeking to make. I thought the Acolyte was offering that sort of highbrow storytelling.
Yeah, I'm listening
like
to you.
exploring the dark side, and it's so sad
Yeah.
we're getting robbed of sort of the story that
I don't
actually
even.
just
I can't even.
explain the
Yeah,
dark side.
it's so depressing.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying.
let
Like
me-
Grant, I'm
let
listening
me-
to you play like, to list all the things that you want to see in Star Wars, and it's like these not passion projects.
And it's like they're
but
here,
like,
buddy, and I'm watching them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, Solo. That was Larry Kasdan wanted to do that. That was like his Star Wars. He wanted to do that. Acolyte, right? So it's like at your own peril, though. And Andor. I don't know. I wouldn't really call Andor that. That was just sort of like Gilroy was involved with the IP. He cleaned up Rogue One, and was offered a job and said, "Yeah, I'd do it, but I'd do it like this," and then just knocked it out of the park.
They let him make.
Yeah, I think they're gonna let
his
view, and they let him do it.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like he's like, I've always wanted to make this Star Wars.
No.
I'm with you, Grant. I want to see more of that too, and I really would put hard credits on the fact that they will let new filmmakers make new film. It can't just be the Filoni Favreau verse. Though like you saying, it is a gift to have Jon Favreau making your live action show. It's we're stealing that.
Man. I want to continue this real quickly. This because it's kind of in my brain now. This Mandalorian Solo parallel. So you have directors Favreau and Ron Howard. Okay, so I don't know how to say this without maybe coming across a bit.
Did Ron Howard direct Solo?
No, he did. I think he did. Because here's the thing about Ron Howard.
An unknown portion.
Ron Howard,
or did the producing
Ron Howard
staff
Ron Howard will always
basically say have final say about almost everything that happened in that film.
A lot of it, but Ron Howard will always. He's a team player, and he's always good at getting you an at-bat double. He'll never get you a home run. He'll rarely ever strike out.
Slap hitter.
But he's almost always going to get you a single or a double, right? Which means like he can do it. He knows he's well versed in film craft. Not again. Ron Howard is a fine director. He's a journeyman director. But that's kind of what you need sometimes. And you know what? Here's the thing. So's Favreau. Favreau's is a solid director. He's never going to get a home run.
You don't think Swingers is a home run?
You don't think
Iron Man 1 is a home run?
A genius writer and sort of like creative.
I think he's an
improv artist.
No.
Yeah, I think he's
I think you're thinking of Favreau as a writer. I think you're thinking of Favreau as a writer.
Favreau is an
he wrote Mandalorian.
He understands performance, and when you write characters,
we're going to talk about writers in a second. We're not talking about writers.
But the whole thing about I mean, to me, it's like both. The big complaint that people make about George.
Talk about him as a writer. Don't worry about it.
People complain about George and him not being an actor's director, which I would love to argue and write a thesis about why I think maybe that was a good thing, and the camaraderie that was shared by the original trinity of characters is actually extremely good. That they actually formed a friendship outside of this director who maybe is just trying to
the product
rush them or make sure the process feels faster and more intense or whatever. He would keep telling them. The thing about Favreau is I think about him as a performer and an actor's director, almost the inverse of George, where he knows what it is to perform, and he's in the he's happy in the Marvel films, and he does such an incredible job.
Ron Howard,
don't forget
Ron Howard is an actor first,
right? And Ron Howard too. To bring actors, directors into Star Wars, I think is such a smart approach to sort of, let's create characters that people can sort of they feel like there's. But then again, you're missing, I think, the magic and the special sauce of the original trilogy is again like the trio were kind of friends.
Yes.
Outside of George, basically, and there's something to that you see on screen that's like incredibly magical, but it's hard to recreate that. And so it's like that's I think what people are grasping for. But I'm like, I don't know how you really recreate that. I think you just hired Tony Gilroy and you make different, more interesting pieces at this point. Like you kind of can't.
I will say, I think that's one of the things the sequel trilogy had going for it. I do think Daisy Ridley, Oscar Isaac, and now I feel racist because my brain just thank you John Boyega really loved each other, and there's really some amazing behind the scenes stuff where I feel like they did form a bond in that shooting, and I think that is why
the Instagram posts were
especially
happening, because like we are we're Carrie Hamill
it's true because we're also behind a giant marketing machine, but I feel like it's genuine at the same time, and I think that is why Rise of Skywalker rises above pun slightly intended, it's component parts. Because when I watch those scenes with Oscar Isaac and John Boyega that are kind of whatever, I love those scenes because the two of their friendships
you definitely sense something between them. It's very
same thing with the big brother little sister stuff between Daisy Ridley and Oscar Isaac. In that movie, I don't think is well written or necessarily directed, but I feel like it comes through because of their off-screen kind of relationship. I feel like you can feel it.
What's your read on that relationship?
Big brother, little sister.
Interesting.
I mean, they're all power hitters in their own way. I mean, Isaac's been doing it probably longer than the other two, but I mean, they're all power hitters, man. They're just so great. I can't wait to see more Daisy Ridley.
Me too.
Yeah. And sort of standalone where she's not attached to an ensemble. If that's an approach that they're taking, that would be very cool.
All right, real quick, we don't have to do this. I just need to finish this trilogy the trinity that I was talking about. Writer, you got Tony Kasdan. I mean, sorry, not Tony Kasdan. You got Larry Kasdan, and you got Jon Favreau. Both really great writers, knowing how to write stuff, but not quite knowing the geek stuff. And then you have the lore people on both those things, right? You've got your Jon Kasdan and Dave Filoni, right? Like, I feel like that's what you need to get Star Wars.
Yeah, why Larry and John should come back and join Favreau and Filoni and sort of be this like council. Like, to me, they're like, that's the perfect 4 people. And I think you should add a like Bryce Dallas Howard or more people to that collective. But it's like because honestly, like her episode of Mando at the Darksaber fight, all that stuff that happened, that was just so good.
Actually an episode of Boba Fett, but yeah.
Oh, is that Boba? Yeah, sorry about that. Was Boba
Fett.
Is.
That's the wild thing.
That is hilarious.
And Rick Famuyiwa.
One of the best episodes.
I'm not
the best
sure.
episode
But if you handle Luke
actually
and
Boba
Grogu,
Fett.
it's like you're handling Luke and Grogu. Like a tribute to George Lucas and the Yoda baby and Luke Skywalker for what felt like forever. It felt like a movie. I was like, how long are we going to watch Luke? This is a long time. We're watching Luke for a very long time.
We got a lot of Luke.
I looked at my watch. I was like, I'm still watching Luke Skywalker right now.
Yes, in an episode of the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. So weird. They're like, you can do that there.
That was the most compelling footage we've seen in a very long time.
Agreed. And it's a great episode. It's a solid episode. Don't you feel like if this was the 80s when they would repackage shows and re-edit shows, that when this got released in a box set, they'd excise those 2 episodes and put it onto the Mandalorian box set? Be like, these are dope.
They belong there.
And these are,
I know.
Yes.
But you need to wear the jeweler's gloves to handle a Luke Skywalker footage. You know what I mean? To me, it's that is you're reawakening Return of the Jedi Luke right now. And Bryce Dallas Howard so good.
I think that was Favreau.
Oh, was it
that?
Yeah, I think it was.
I forget who directed.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
This is.
It wasn't the Bryce Dallas. Bryce Dallas Howard spent 25 minutes building a starship, and I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah,
so good.
That is not.
So good.
Yeah.
Those 2 episodes.
Well, she has that fake, and she has that fake, or I don't know if it's fake, but she has that fake oneer at the beginning of that episode, which I will still go back to, which is so good.
It's 2 great movies. It's sick Mandalorian lore, and then just building a spaceship. It is just the coolest episode I've ever seen.
Yep, building the N1 Starfighter. It's so good. I mean, I have the
solo.
I have it, the N1 Starfighter's right up there, Lego version of it.
Yeah.
It's great. It's the thing. Yeah, it's just so good. It's just amazing getting that and getting the Luke in there and just all of it. Yeah.
So anyways, in conclusion, to your point, I think we're still getting plenty of Star Wars here. I think it's going to change.
Yeah.
And I hope there's still room. That's my only fear, is that there's not still room for some new innovative Star Wars super fans that want to make a Star Wars.
Can we respectfully?
Or they're going to make them in film form.
Okay, great. I just meant that generally. No,
I know.
Yeah.
Let's just wrap this up with a future episode that's basically a drafting of the sort of Star Wars brain trust, but just in the most respectful way possible. Really show a lot of respect to all the creatives who are involved, but
No, just
our own
our
weird
choice, our
fan
picks. We won't.
trust. It really has no stakes in anyone's lives. Like no one should listen to us and be like, "That's that." Did you hear what they said on Cantina Chronicles? Like that's the brain trust. We should go with. Like never. Don't ever listen to what we say and take it as
it's for fun.
A very an opinion that we are standing by. Everything's loosely held here, so just a fun brain trust draft or something. That'd be great.
Yeah, we won't. I won't spend 15 minutes savaging Colin Trevorrow. It's fine.
I mean, we will, but just please don't listen to us and take it with a grain of salt from crate. Just
what Jurassic Park needs? Meanness, and really
Scarlett Johansson.
Just Scarlett.
More dinosaurs than ever. It's like
more dinosaurs.
Who's pitching Jurassic Park?
More death. More gratuitous violence. Women running in high heels. This is what we need. Anyway, sorry.
I love it. Everything. Yes, go on. That sounds great.
What if you just? I guess it's sacrilege to remake Jurassic Park, but like, what if you just try to do the crate?
It's only been done 7 times now.
What's really? I'm fine with that. I almost rather a remake than this. Like, we're gonna continue the story and we can keep doing it over and over and over and over again.
Dude, Spielberg, like, come on, it's like one of the greatest movies of all time. You're gonna just like redo that?
Yeah, you can't.
I'd say I'd be more okay with that. I wouldn't be good. Wouldn't get anywhere near it.
You guys are wild. This isn't going to become a Jurassic Park podcast.
No, I'm out. That's my material is spent on Jurassic Park.
Lovely. So I've been geeking out on Star Wars Outlaws. I feel like I've spent so much time and yet I've done so little, and it's been broken up. It hasn't been day or night, but I wanted to catch up with y'all a little more on this game because I did one thing today that I want to share with you, and I still want to keep this kind of spoiler free, mostly for me, but like maybe edge a little more into this game a little bit.
How about this is where we can go. I'm fine with whatever. I don't care about spoilers, but do you want to? How about we spoil up to where you are? Is that okay? Because you're further along than I am.
I've spent a good portion of time on Kijimi. I'm about half.
And I just got
there, right?
I just got to Kijimi. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So that's fine. And I really only have one major spoiler from that planet, but actually, it's
when you say you've been to Kijimi,
so
you have been to Toshara though, because I believe you started.
Of course, there.
So we talked about Toshara last episode.
But
lots to explore there. Lots that happen.
Oh my god! I just looked and I had like 15 hints on Toshara, and I was like, oh my god. So I just started clearing a bunch of stuff out there, and it's just so funny how it works. I decided I wanted to open the Crimson Dawn vault there, but then I had to do a couple of errands first, and it killed my rep with Crimson Dawn. So then I needed to do a Crimson Dawn mission to get my rep back up so I could do 2 more things, and actually I decided I wanted to get in the vault to get through there easier, at which point I triggered an Imperial super alert, at which time they summoned a ISB agent and Death Troopers.
Okay. Yes. I'm so happy you encountered Death Troopers.
If that doesn't get you into this game, I don't know what is.
So here's what I'm annoyed about. I didn't encounter them. I encountered a glitch where I was told Death Troopers are coming, and it's like, find the Death Troopers. They're 4 kilometers away and never got closer. So I don't know if they got stuck in
for me.
In a cavern or something.
Same situation, same scenario.
Yeah.
So the Death Troopers were nowhere in sight in the
So
beginning.
neither of you guys fought Death Troopers?
Well,
I haven't.
So I have.
Oh,
yeah, Grant has, but I haven't.
But in that ramification, where you get such a high rep that they come and then you.
I got it. They just never found me. They were they crashed.
Eliminate your wanted level or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. So I had to do that. So I had to steal the card from the ISB agent, and then take out all the Death Troopers, and then call off the wanted. And I actually did it, and it was one of the coolest things that ever. I'm but it's so weird because usually it's a warning, stay away. Everything changes in this game all the time. I keep expecting a pattern, but it keeps breaking its own pattern, and I love that so much. And so it was go towards the Death Troopers, and I was like, oh, all right, let's go, let's do this thing, and it was so cool, and the reward is really awesome, and
all right, I'll have to.
Yeah. and then
kill a ton of Imperials to get wanted.
Yeah, it didn't like I was just trying to get from one point to the other to deliver some stupid like contraband for Crimson Dawn, and yeah,
I think all you have to do is
blast.
bump into a scout biker that's just
Oh,
right
yeah.
around the map and sort of set it off, and then keep fighting Imperials for as long as you can, and then I think you can eventually get to that wanted level. But Death Troopers, like again, I hear a lot of like critiques of the game that it does feel like Ben is saying that it keeps breaking a pattern. It feels like the world is sort of more alive than your standard Ubisoft sort of open world. But a lot of people are saying the contrary, where they're like, this game has kind of fallen prey to the Ubisoft open world design, where there's like, here's this little side quest, here's this little fetch quest, here's a simple wanted system, some sort of patrolling mob that attacks you. Like, some people are saying it does fall prey to the formula, but then like, for me, the highs of this game are like the you are getting a Death Trooper. Like,
I know.
For me,
you're
I'm
doing
like,
that with a
if you
Star
just
Wars overlay.
sit
It's
behind
all I've ever
cover and
wanted.
you listen to those sort of garbled, barks that they make. Like, it is so
Terrifying.
cool and so awesome. And I was like, do you want to experience the galaxy in the best, most vivid way and possible? Like, play Star Wars Outlaws. Like, I kind of regret buying the collector's edition, but like, I think at a $60 price point, I think it's a fantastic experience.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely
normal,
incredible experience.
I 100% agree. I think out of the three of us, I was kind of the Lucas warm on it. No pun intended. Last time, I've only played, I think since then, maybe another 6 hours of this game.
Yeah,
all in, fully in.
Okay.
Just something clicked over with me. I think part of it was what I've been doing is like, now that I think part of the anxiety I was having is, I think I talked about it last time, is that like, since we were going to talk about it, I need to get as far along in the plot as I could. And once I accepted just not going to happen, I'm starting to play like every other open world game, which is like, yes, I'm slowly moving ahead in the plot, but as new things open up to me, I'm going to kind of master whatever that new thing is. So I think like, for all of my not informants, what are we called? Your mentors,
experts.
Experts.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten all of the upgrades available for all of them.
That's fantastic. That's a lot of.
I just slowly do that work. My
boxes.
Crimson Dawn rep is like almost through the roof. I'm only poor with the other ones, so I'm slowly starting to work my rep up with all the other ones. And because the thing is now, like, I have all of these. I've upgraded so much of my equipment to the point, and gotten all these other like fetch quests. I've gotten a lot of the like the hidden loot and all that stuff, because I'm like, now I can like creep around. I can basically just walk straight. I can run up to a person and they're not going to hear me coming.
Yeah.
So like now my like any stealth stuff is just like easy, right? And I'm like, now I'm like, okay, great. Now I can do all this stuff. And my favorite fighting technique is I run around punching everyone. I'm in this game.
You just run around punching.
I'm a melee. I'm combat melee mainly, because I just tuck and roll, and then shut up, tuck and roll, punch him in the face, tuck and roll. It is the least. It's immersion breaking, but like I barely use my blaster.
That is so funny.
When I'm in combat.
Wow.
Yeah,
I love that. I can see how you could totally get away with that too.
I immediately spec rapid fire, and I was just like automatic fire or whatever, and I was just going.
Oh yeah.
So I just rapid fire. So I think my game's gonna change.
Yeah, it's
rapid fire was huge.
Yeah, it's nice, and rapid fire on the Starship too is really great.
Yeah, I got that.
I've gotten pretty good with my Starship, though I did like I've kicked everyone's butt except for one mission against one Corvette, and it sent like 2 salves of like 9 rockets each at me, and I don't know how to escape rockets. So like I try to shoot them.
There are maneuvers you can unlock that I think would help.
Okay.
Then that helps. And it just vaporized me, and I was like, oh, okay, but like there's just so many different.
I do have to say though, I do think the story missions do unlock things that feel incredibly gratifying, like especially some speeder unlocks and things like that, where it's just like, I can go here now that I didn't think I could get there, but until I did this speeder unlock or whatever. But
it doesn't seem like too much. It's like you've got your gear that's on, you've got a couple other like little charms, and then you kit out your blaster, you kit out your Starship, and you kit out your speeder. And it's like,
Yep.
and then you earn these like traits along the way, and it's, it doesn't seem like too much. Where it's like, even in God of War is easy, but it's like when you have like 3 massive skill trees and you're trying to remember all this stuff, like this, it just feels very organic to Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I do like the Assassin's Creed, and like I definitely, if I really think about it, I'm like, yeah, they are reusing a lot of the same sort of mission tropes that they do in other games, but it's just so beautifully.
Of course they will.
Yeah, of course they're going to. But they've curated it so beautifully to the Star Wars aesthetic that I love it. I love that sometimes you go and just open a box, and sometimes you're in a 10-minute tunnel dungeon to like find the
can you guys just tell me what you okay, everything we're listing is sort of like systems in the open world and quest and sort of the quest design structure and all that sort of stuff. That's kind of what we're praising. How are you guys feeling about the story thus far?
I like it, man. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, you're just trying to make your way in the galaxy. You got a death mark, and and then you're building a team. Like, it's the most Star Wars thing ever. Like, you have to build a cadre. I don't think I'm giving much away, right?
No, and I just got to that point. Like, I'm going after the safe cracker. Like, I got the overarching mission of like, I got to put the team together to crack the safe. So
it's a perfect Star Wars.
What do I think of the story? That's the thing, is I feel like it's a very serviceable. They got the
serviceable. Like, I'm highlighting that as the blurb.
Yes, because here's the thing, like the
Cantina Chronicles is a perfectly serviceable Star Wars podcast.
Is that wrong?
Not wrong. What I feel about these games is, if you play it the way I play it, the overarching plot gets lost very quickly, because I'm like, oh, let me spend now a week doing side missions. The thing, what I like about this plot is,
you're growing old on Toshara over there.
Yeah, right. But this plot is so clearly Star Wars and very clear that I'm locked into where I am. So when I go back to the overarching, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's right. I'm building my team, right? Because I got to do this, because I got to clear my death mark. Is it like groundbreaking? No. Is it like Red Dead Redemption 2 where it's going to make me cry at the end? No way. I'm not going to cry at this game. But it is. They got Star Wars.
I mean, unless they kill K-Best.
Yeah, I don't know. There's
I don't even know if that make me cry.
Climactic moments in this story, as being as broad as possible here.
If they killed Nyx, then I would cry.
Do you know what moment I did enjoy? What you know what moment I did enjoy is, you meet and I can't think of names because I can never remember names, and this game's gonna kill me with names, especially. But like, you meet your Rodian, the Rodian, Waka, and I'm like, I love Waka. Waka's my man. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, that was a nice moment where I was just like, oh damn, like, actually got me a little bit. Like, it was a good moment in the game. I appreciate that little turn.
Like, after completing the game and still staying very vague about the story itself, my only sort of critique of the game is, if you kind of want to give someone the unabashed open world Star Wars experience, I almost think, like, I get that storytelling is so important to the IP that is Star Wars, and it's almost like the first thing that goes into a lot of the creatives behind this game is probably like, we have to tell an incredible story. It's Star Wars is all about storytelling. It's got to be incredible. For me, it's like,
does it in the game?
After having beat the game, I'm like, I almost think it would have been more enjoyable if there was some player expression in the game, customizable characters, and sort of like, I don't know, they just address you as you, or something that, akin to Knights of the Old Republic, where it just feels like, because like, for the story I almost think it would have been more enjoyable if the ships were more customizable, the speeder was more.
You're still on rails.
Character was more customizable, and that's kind of where I stand on the game. I was like, if you could just be a Twi'lek, like, if you could just be whoever Star Wars fantasy you have.
My friend, like, let me introduce you to the online playing game called Star Wars Galaxy.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying with the level of AAA polish that we've never seen before, right?
I agree. But I think that's a different game, and my thought is, like,
I feel like it's right there. It's sitting.
But it's not like Assassin's Creed. It's not. But my point is, like, it's not what your open world games are now.
But then why not just make an Uncharted, or a sort of like a linear, a God?
Well, because that's the Jedi Survivor.
Survivor's Uncharted, pretty much.
So
But I would argue this game kind of doesn't know what it wants to be. It's like, does it want to be a Rockstar open world game where it's just trying to create as many systems as it can in the open world in which you can then interact with, and you have a bespoke sort of organic tale that unfolds that's unique to you? Or does it want to be a linear game that's on rails and tells a story about a singular character and the ensemble surrounding them, and try to do that as best as possible? And to me, it wants to be the second. And I just think
it wants to be Assassin's Creed.
I think the first is just the better approach, honestly.
It wants to be Assassin's Creed Valhalla in the galaxy far, far away. It's like up to its best technology based on the capitalization of all the work they've done on all the Assassin's Creeds to date.
Does player expression go a long way for you guys, or do you like a story and being told who's who and what's going on? Like, do you guys ever like to customize your characters or customize yourself in a game?
Watch me on Red Dead Redemption 2. Absolutely.
I don't need
Red Dead Redemption 2 again. You're Arthur. You're a singular character that you kind of can't.
But like, so are you talking like what type of Rockstar game are you talking about? Are you talking about like Grand Theft Auto 5?
I'm talking about Grand Theft Auto 5 online. I'm talking about Red Dead Online, sort of like
online,
where things are moving to, basically.
I gotta push back. Yeah. You're talking about a different game, right? Like, and my point is,
or the Division,
make that game
made previously
also
fully customizable character.
Right.
Again, that's shared world. It's online. I get it.
It's right. But Grant,
you can do it. Like Natural Republic is kind of the comp, not these other games. Like this.
Make that game too. Make that game also, right? Like there's room for that. Is my thought. It's like this is all we want. Is like put the Star Wars skin on top of it, and they put the Star Wars skin on Assassin's Creed,
and it was great.
It's like Assassin's Creed and Red Dead Redemption 2 Lite. I would argue,
but I would say that's a huge boon if the story is just incredible and sort of the game is like this singular, wonderful opera that is, a Star Wars, a scoundrel opera. It's something that you really hold dear. Wherein, when the story ended for me, I was just kind of like, I can't wait to play the DLC because honestly, maybe more unfolds there that is sort of interesting.
Lando,
pictures of Lando and Hondo Anaka on the
Hondo. Yay!
I don't know. For me, it was like. The narrative design of the game let me down a little bit, and to me, it's like the whole point of the game and making.
I'm shocked
to make a sort of Ubisoft. No, but it's tough because I gave the game the benefit of the doubt, and I wanted to love all the characters from the beginning, and I do like Kay Vess quite a bit. I think she's an incredible character.
I just it's very don't neutral. She's a very neutral character.
There's some other characters that I would say just the whole problem is the cadre you're talking about, Ben. Like, I just don't care about any of those characters, and it's terrible that I don't care about those characters, and it's terrible that I think it's kind of
the ones you're with, Grant.
Cool
you can't always pick your cadre. You just got to pick the best available. You don't got to love all these people. Sometimes you just need a safecracker.
Well, I don't know. I just like being honest with my opinion. I feel like
when
I think about those characters, I was like, nah, none of these characters are really holdovers.
I'm trying to think like I'm trying to think how to respond to this, because your critique is valid and in my experience 100% accurate.
I think the Waka stuff you exexperienced is strong.
Yeah,
it's somewhat. It's just at the same time it just feels like, of course, this is back alley.
Also, who's the head in the jar that you rescue?
Oh, I thought that was great though. That was fun. You're talking about strong material. I think the game opens with some strong material, but the game has to. It's like a 20-hour game depending on how fast you play, and like there's a lot going on. Right. If you can, when you go through the story, you meet lots of characters and lots happens, but it's
I guess
it's a little rogue. It's a little like we've seen all these elements that are sort of like, of course this would happen to a scoundrel character, and instead of doing things that maybe are new avenues of sort of narrative design for a scoundrel, like what's like, Han's wanted by Java, like you get a death mark. It's not reinventing the wheel in terms of the scoundrel story. And so
not at all.
But I think Grant, you have to start somewhere, and it's like
we talked about this last week. It's a sturdy foundation for a fantastic future for open world Star Wars.
Star Wars IP is way behind the 8 ball on all the AAA games. Like, we just barely got an Uncharted, right? And it's like Uncharted is like 12 years old. And like now we're finally getting an Assassin's Creed like Star Wars, and I think I totally agree with what you're saying, Grant. Like story, that's always going to drive Star Wars, and it's always going to make a richer experience. But
I'm
okay with a neutral one.
Actually, I'm arguing that instead of think instead of going with the mentality that Star Wars is a
Make it
story
more
first
neutral.
IP.
Yeah.
If you're making an open world Star Wars game, I think player expression is actually
Yeah.
a better approach, because I get it has to have an incredible story.
Yeah.
But if you're honestly pushing this game down a pipeline and quickly and very mechanic focused and sort of environment focused and sort of environment design, and like just how incredibly accurate the game is, I almost just feel like you're better serviced by just giving unlimited player expression versus providing this AAA Star Wars story, especially if it's like I end the game and I kind of just none of these characters are sticking with me after the game.
Right.
Like that's tough.
So my answer is yes, and like we should have both. The same thing that Adam said, right? Like I think there's room for both of these, because I love just being able to knock around as a scoundrel, and just the immersion, the like interaction to interaction experience, being in there is like really fun. Like I think I need this step before I can get to your game.
But scoundrels should be the most passionate and have the most going on with their cadre or their ensemble that's built around them. Like Luke is a Jedi, so there's kind of a spiritual journey. If you're a scoundrel like KVS at the center of like an ensemble that you're building, I think like you're more human, you're more connected, you're not just thinking about your corrupted father and talking to ghosts. I think you're even more invested with people, and I think the characters really matter in terms of that type of storytelling. KVS, incredible character. Waka, incredible character. Characters you guys meet are pretty cool. It's just that like the motivations, why people do what for certain reasons, and that sort of stuff is what's missing from the game.
Yeah.
It just, in my opinion, like it's just motivation stuff. I was like, is this really what you would do if you like this is all? And you have a death mark on you, and there's no urgency to like to get the death mark off you. It's like to just it just feels like there's something missing to the formula.
Great. I had that moment where I kind of like had to move the plot forward to in order to unlock some stuff, and they did the death mark thing. I'm like, wow, I really don't. I had that like external moment of like, I'm not playing this game as if I had a death mark on me at all. What I will say,
neither would Han Solo though. Like Han Solo would just sort of.
I was gonna say it's a very Han Solo move.
Yeah, it's like I woke up, I had blue milk, and then like I got another death mark on me.
Right.
Like, what are you gonna do?
But Han Solo falls in love with Princess Leia. You know what I mean? Like that's a huge story in my opinion. And like, it doesn't even need to be central to the Galactic Civil War and the what the original trilogy stands for. It's like just that relationship alone, segmented, is very interesting. And you almost want that in this story, but then I don't know. Have you guys met some of the other characters yet? Like how far have you gotten in the story?
I have met the droid. Was it DS7 or something?
ND9. We talked to
ND9.
ND9.
Yep.
Adam, have you met ND9 yet?
Yes, I have met ND9.
Okay.
Yes. I think
everything around KVS ND9 is just perplexing to me, and I just don't understand a commando droid in the spot that they're in, other than they look really cool. Like the design.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
The design's amazing.
Cool.
The design's amazing,
It's
but I agree.
amazing.
Like, what
the
is
design?
What is this droid?
Incredible. I just don't know if that's because something is cool. Like because Darth Vader is cool, do we just use Darth Vader all the time? Like because this is cool, do we use this all the time? And that to me, that's like kind of like the opposite of what we talked about earlier with Favreau and Filoni and how deftly they handle sort of Star Wars material and sort of when things need to be in a story and when they don't. And if something's cool, sure, put it in if you think it's cool. But if it's cool and has meaning, then it's like it's gonna make the game all the better.
So you're telling me it doesn't have any meaning?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm kidding. I just love him because he's cool, dude. Like there's so much subtext to all his lines, where she's like, so have you been to a lot of worlds? And I'm thinking of like, it's so cool to think about that droid and like every droid in the Clone Wars, like every world that a droid in the Clone Wars went to. Like, it's.
I love that. That's how you react to it. I'm just like next sentence, so I can play the game.
It's the perfect intellect level for me. I'm just like, I get to do cool stuff, and like I said at the beginning of the show, like, we love this segment was. They're like just that string of events is a very Star Wars thing to happen, and it's like it was just so fun to have to interact with. And I'm like, I gotta make this haul so that I can do the thing, but like the Empire's here, and like I gotta deal with them. Like it's not really like high.
What if a Syndicate war was happening?
Storytelling, but it's fun.
Or like something else was happening. You know what I mean? Like a lot of what we got in War of the Bounty Hunter was sort of the stuff I wanted in this game, and the comics we read, War of the Bounty Hunters, or like I
Grant, you're
I thought
making
that
a
was an
great case
incredible
for
comic
this.
series in terms of how it explored the underworld. And
Yeah.
when I played this game, the story takes some twists and turns as you go along, and it sort of I would say pivots away from War of the Bounty Hunters territory into different territory that I will not discuss on the podcast because we're not going to like spoiler zone or anything like that. But and I think, and you guys obviously met, what is it, Jalen, who's the guy with ND9? You met him, right? There's just characters like Waka. Again, when you talk about Waka, that's actually a pretty interesting character, especially the betrayal that happens. Like, that's interesting. It's interesting. It seems like the character Kay would know, right? It just seems like, and Kay is really interesting. And there's flashback sequences with Kay and her mom that are really, really potent and really, really strong. And I know we're not going to discuss any of that future story because we're not there yet. Maybe when we do part 3 of our kind of review when we finish the game. But I just think overarching, I was like, I'm not.
Are you still playing the game, Grant?
Player expression, I would do player expression. That's it.
Yes, that sounds amazing, Grant. All of it. Are you still playing the game? Are you backfilling some of the side plot?
I am. I'm jumping back in when I can, but I'm not making the time I made initially. Like I'm not. It's not appointment gaming, which is tough because it's a Star Wars AAA open world game. It's got my name all over it. It's got.
See, but the thing is, I don't think this is a AAA game. Because I wouldn't argue that Assassin's Creed are AAA games.
Valhalla?
I think it's like
they're pretty
Valhalla,
polished,
but I don't think this is at Valhalla level. I think this is at below Valhalla level.
Yeah,
yeah.
Really?
I think this is a double. This is
actually
game.
just like
I do.
I think the technology.
I think they want us to believe
improved in this game.
I think it's middling.
I'm judging it more like by story, like how much story there is in Valhalla versus
story.
this.
There's
I mean, I don't know.
Valhalla feels deeper, but yeah.
I'm curious. The only reason I asked you that, Grant, was because I wonder if I'll have a different story experience because I'm mining every corner of these planets before I sort of move on in the story a little bit, because they all there's a bunch of little tidbits that sort of inform who you are, what you're doing, what kind.
I'm sure you are going to optimize your time with the game and just have an incredible time.
Yeah.
I think I'm
gonna, but I'm just wondering if this, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder if the story gets richer if you do some more. Of these
much like any Star Wars, if you you backfill. But I want to. There's so much I want to respond to what you said, Grant, because I am not having the reaction you're having to this because I entered this very much expecting like Assassin's Creed Black Flag level stuff, right? And so still somewhat on the rails, a lot of like fetch quests, but I 100% see where you're coming from and think you're right in terms of story lines. I assume you're right. I feel like I'm
honestly
I will form my own opinion.
And I think the story is strong.
Let me
I just think if you're weighing it against player expression, I think that my only argument is if I could write a real argument about this piece to say I think like trying to do something new and not following the sort of Ubisoft formula and maybe allowing more player expression is the better option, given that the story I think has been received with lukewarm critical reception versus like it's a Star Wars game. You know what I mean? Like it's a Star Wars game. Like the story should stand out. Especially Star Wars is just known as the sort of hub of storytelling.
I guess I just think like I don't know. Like my expectations were so much lower because I was playing this as an Ubisoft game. So like I was expecting mechanic. I was mechanic driven, and the fact that it actually did a serviceable Star Wars plot on top of it, I was pleasantly surprised. After playing decades of nonsensical Assassin's Creed games, where the plot is like, okay, I'm gonna kill the Pope. Apparently, I have to kill the Pope.
Yeah.
Why am I killing the Pope?
Because it's awesome.
Because of an apple.
Yeah.
Because there's an apple. What the?
Yeah,
It's an apple.
Right.
All right, fine, cool. Can I just go kill some people now? Can I just go climb some bell towers? So I was literally going and expecting that. So I was pleasantly surprised by the serviceable nature. Talking to you though, I get where you're coming from, and I don't disagree. I think expecting more or hoping for more is not a bad thing. I think part of what we're also bumping up against is this obsession that Lucasfilm seems to have right now with canon. that everything has to be canon, which means even in an open world game like this, it has to be pretty on the rails because this has to tie into larger thing. So I think we need a game like you're asking for that doesn't behold itself to canon. Why don't give us a Baldur's Gate 4? Like, give us that in Star Wars, right? Where you can make all of these choices, and your game and your game and my game are extremely different. And then we have what happened in like the 80s when you're in a playground going, hey, did you meet that person and do this thing? No, I didn't remember that. Has anyone here played Chrono Trigger? Am I the only one who played Chrono Trigger?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about RPG.
Yeah, but you go back, like, I remember having this conversation, like, wait, you could meet that person, or if you do this in that timeline, that changes this thing. But like, you would all have different player experiences with different outcomes, right? And I think that allows you to play it like that Baldur's Gate version completely different. It's open world, choices matter, you meet people, some people get in your cadre, some don't, and put that over a Star Wars and still have that amazing storytelling, but having that player expression, having to be able to make actual decisions that affect the world in a way that this game, I did not expect that. They somewhat kind of suggested that was going to happen, and I was already going, no, you're not, because you can't, because it's got to end. Every game has to end in the same way in this game.
Yeah, and that said, I just feel like I like the story in this game. It's great. I'm not trying to really knock the story really that much. And what I'm saying, it's more of that if we're going to continue down the line of Star Wars open world games developed by Ubisoft Massive, I think from taking all the tools that you created in this game, I think the next game is this sort of player expression game I'm talking about, because I just didn't see a narrative approach in this game that was like, give me more KVS and ND9, like give me more of this story. Because I was just I don't care at the end of this game. And that's, I wanted to care deeply. I was like, I really do care about these characters. I hope that this bodes well, and it's all going to be great, and lots of more is going to happen with these characters. But then I was just like, at the end of this game, I was like, ooh, so much amazing technology was created around this game
that I'm like,
oh,
the technology,
so all these mechanics are incredible, and I'm really just praising the team for just all of the systems that they designed for this game. And I was just like, so the next game is Outlaws 2. Do you want Outlaws 2, or do you want sort of this other thing I'm talking about, which is a player expression, like taking all the technology from this game and just doing like more player expression and meeting lots of NPCs that have really interesting bespoke dialogue, but they just address you as you, and you get to re-roll your character, and there's more of a tabletop D&D feel to it. You know what I mean? Like, but it's still a scoundrel game. It's still no lightsabers. It's still collecting.
Let me ask you a question.
Holding the two-handed blaster you pick up. You know, like for longer than a second. You know, it's like. It's just a different
very specific
design,
question.
whereas the other design is narrative heavy. And
is there an ending to this game that you're suggesting? Is there a narrative?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a narrative ending. Yes, there's a narrative.
Yes, then I want your game. I just don't want an online game that goes on and on and on and on.
There's a narrative ending.
Like that's, but yeah, like you know, like how Red Dead.
Just the world and the systems are kind of feel
as open as you can imagine.
Feel more numerous, and it feels like there's more expression, and it feels like there's not a lot of like weight put on the story in terms of what's great about creating the game I'm kind of sort of discussing here, which is a player expression focused game versus a very story driven game. Which is that this is still story driven, but there's no stakes put on the IP, on Star Wars as a brand, as anything surrounding Star Wars, because it's really player choice led. It's a player choice experience more than a singular linear story with a reputation system and some experts you meet along the way. It's a player choice driven narrative versus kind of this experience. And I'm only proposing this player expression idea for a second follow up to this game with all the systems invented in it, because I didn't think the story was incredible in what we got. And that's
right. And we haven't finished the game yet, right? Yeah. We haven't finished the game yet, so it's kind of tough to answer that.
You guys might love it. Like let's temper all of this. Because,
I just like it. I'm sorry, Adam. I'm going to jump in here.
No. I don't.
I think so I'll need to make a judgment by the time obviously when I finish this. I do think broadly, yes, like Star Wars should be seeking to evolve with the top games that are out now, and like I love the idea of a Baldur's Gate game, and I love what you're talking about, and I think there should constantly be an evolution. But I have to say, like right now in my playthrough, like the lore drops of seeing major named characters are some of my favorite parts of the game.
Yeah.
And I don't know that if you're trying to sort of isolate this story so that it doesn't interfere with canon, that you can do that, you know? I mean,
And the weaving
maybe you
with
can run
canon,
into Boba Fett or something, or a Sing.
canon
Or,
issue.
There's just
like
beautiful weaving with canon in this, but like again, like
There was
I don't know
will-
what
let me
that
just-
does
let me just-
for.
let me-
I don't know.
Let me step out for a second.
No, go.
There
go
was a
ahead.
moment.
You ask,
where
that's
I was
my
in a High
answer.
Republic, where I was a High Republic ship. I looked at the data pad and they talked about how they got scuttled by a Nihil attack.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you. Like just look at over. I'm like,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah,
that's
thanks.
amazing. Like we're seeing, but continue.
For
Grant.
us, like,
no,
all it takes is a word for like fans like us, and it's just like unspools all of this knowledge that we have about these things. We're like, oh, when during the Nihil Wars was that? Like, I wonder if that was. Yeah, I think there's a what's it called? What's the space station called? Starlight Beacon. There's like a Starlight Beacon reference, like in the first like 10 minutes of the game or something. Like,
But I don't understand how you're missing any of that with the other experience that I'm talking about. It's like I don't understand how there's not all of those Easter eggs in there. And what that almost does is it keeps it more Easter egg heavy in the experience I'm talking about. Whereas I would argue that this game is so concerned with weaving into the canon that like things occur in which like I'm talking to you guys post Akiva. Like you guys have not been to the planet Akiva yet. If you want to talk about like the weaving of canon with this story, go to the planet Akiva. And I'm not talking about what's there. I'm just saying that, like, I'm talking about this post Akiva with all that happens there, and so much happens there in terms of like canon. I would argue you don't need the level of weaving with major bits of canon that this game has. This is trying to be as vague as possible.
Yeah.
And I would argue that I almost think that Easter eggy. Let's hear about the history of the Nile and the High Republic and like and what happened in those times. That's kind of, I would say there would be a litany of that stuff in the game I'm talking about. Whereas like this game is like, this is a Star Wars story. Let's go big. But
has to
Star
quote
Wars
unquote
story
matter
needs to make its mark on the canon in a way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where it's like,
So-
but like there's major canon and there's minor canon, right? And what you're talking about with the High Republic reference, I think that's minor canon. That's an Easter egg, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, major canon is
meeting
meeting Kira or Jabba the Hutt or something, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there we go. And I'm saying,
yeah. I mean, they've been advertising. That's all over. Like we could talk about that.
I
haven't done that yet, but that's all over the
okay. So
online. But like,
well, we're not going to talk about Jabba because Ben is.
I have not met Jabba yet.
I
I just know
either,
you.
but I've seen
the religious experience of this game, which is Tatooine.
So that's
and
then you say
Ben
that.
is just not. Yeah. And so Ben is talking about this all just like having visited Toshara and Kajimi City, which is crazy to me because I'm like, you found Easter eggs in certain corners and but like. You have not even broached the canon.
I'm savoring
sort of
every little morsel.
This game
every little morsel. I'm just like eating.
Same.
Each one.
I'm very much like you, Ben. I'm looking at everything because I'm like, I know we'll get there, and it's going to be amazing when we get there. And
so I'm talking about this post having experienced all the nuggets, like all the big nuggets, and it's just
Grant, I'm kind of with you. I'm with you because like this is my same critique of the theme park. This is my same critique of Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge tries so hard to make it a unique, bespoke experience, experience, and it's like. But then again, there's like only so many lightsabers.
Stop. No, it doesn't because I've been there now 5 times. What Galaxy's Edge wants
like 4
you to
different
do,
adventures.
No, there's not. There's one adventure. There's one adventure because it takes place during 6 hours of one specific day at one specific very important point in the lore. You cannot affect it. You cannot interact with it. But you can observe it. And it stinks. It stinks because of that. Because it's just like, it makes you feel like you're just walking through dinner theater. Like, the thing is, because they're so obsessed with lore, that just open it up. Just open that thing up.
So when Mando and Grogu start patrolling the park, are they going to pull Rey and Kylo and things like that?
They already did it, but they won't change it. So now I'm like, here's my lore broken brain to be like, so apparently like Grogu and Mando are still hanging out during week 82 of between episodes 8 and 9. I don't know. Like just so
Din
my point
Djarin's
is
89 in that
Grant.
outfit.
right? It's just like yes, like relax the lore stuff when it's interactive.
Especially when it's a scoundrel
relax
adventure.
it.
This is a huge galaxy, and you're a scoundrel, one
Yeah.
amongst
Yeah.
billions of scoundrels.
Yep.
Like, to me, I feel like I'm a scoundrel who's immediately wrapped up in sort of the galactic tale I know, which is like, to me, I think to do a game where you're not wielding a lightsaber and you're not force sensitive, I expect that like you meet lots of new characters and have almost nothing to do with sort of anything that's central to the plot of the saga films or anything like that. Like, I just don't think that that's even.
Yeah,
I don't think that's on the menu.
Grant,
really. You can just have a scoundrel adventure that's incredibly standalone, and it doesn't affect the canon. Like, we're talking about, it doesn't have to be canon. Like, the game I'm talking about can't be canon. I'm like, I think it can be canon. It just takes place on these little, back corner worlds, in the Outer Rim. It's like nothing.
I think that the game you're talking about, we kind of talked about offline, Grant, where it's like it's not called Outlaws, it's called Bounty Hunters, and it's like fully customizable bounty hunter in a certain point of time, and then you can run into all these other bounty hunters just doing their bounty hunter stuff, and it doesn't need to.
Well, because they burn the scoundrel shell with being a linear narrative game, or being a more narrative.
So that's
game.
Whereas, this game, and that's great. And then the next game I think could be like the bounty hunters game, and then you just create your own character, and it's just bounty hunters interacting, and you can have a Forlom and Succus thing, or it even deep into the comics with.
And there's invasion systems like Dark Souls.
Yeah, totally.
So like
your game's been invaded.
Yeah, and you can get a jetpack, and you can get a flamethrower.
No,
right? You could be a sniper. You can do like all these things to customize your character and make yourself. You can have Vukora's like helmet and just look like Vukora.
Which
really,
I think. I think we're all
armor would be great. Like I just anything Star Wars related where I could go design the armor and smelt my own Beskar and
love it.
Right.
Honestly, and I think we're all kind of circling around each other. Like we're all within like a couple of degrees of each other because the main takeaway is like I was having such trouble with this game last week because just like I was playing it and I was comparing it against everything, and then Ben, when we did the podcast, you just mentioned you just said something along the lines of just like, yeah, this is just the first game, and that like blew my world open. Just like, all right, this is the first game. This is the room. Yeah. Like they're going to improve on this, and I think Grant, what you're doing is like, okay, great, this game's good. It's got some really solid mechanics. It knows this here's what I want to see when they iterate on this in the second game.
Exactly.
Right?
I think that's where I'm going with the discussion, because I in no way do I think like Outlaws is a tarnished product that's like I would give it an 8 out of 10. I think a lot of outlets are giving it 7.5 and things like that, and it's just like I think it's good. And I think it's great. I just for me, seeing the tools that are in this game, I would now again love this sort of bounty hunter, player expression, open world Star Wars game where there's possible shared world or multiplayer elements in PvP arenas, or like someone can invade your game and attack you in Mos Eisley or something. You know what I mean? Like, because to me, it's like that just makes the games feel all that more alive. And
can I introduce
when
you to a game called
when you try to create
Star
a
Wars
galaxy, make it feel alive. You know, it's like
totally.
Yeah,
and it does.
I keep looking for the walls, and sometimes they're there in weird places, and sometimes I think they're there, and then I find out later they're not there, and that's what I like about it. It's like it's a squishy, and like immersive experience, and it's kind of great, man. I mean, and you talked about like Black Flag. I just want to squeeze this in there. I was well, what did they do that's new, right? They always like create a new mechanic in every game, which is very commendable. But they had to make their own starship battle mechanic, and like that's commendable, and it's very close to what was done in like the Battlefront games. It's nowhere near as complicated as Squadrons, but it's cool, and it's a little different. It's fun.
The maneuvers are very cool.
The fact that you can come to a complete halt in space is wild on like a dime.
It's pretty cool.
But like I kind of like it's like you've got like 4 gears, and you can like ratchet them up. And
I gotta play more on it.
It takes reps.
It's very I feel like it's very basic. I'm very middling on it, to be honest.
I have never encountered anything.
Do you want it to be complicated?
No, maybe a little more, but I do. But here's the thing: I want to say I do love that they did it. They didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
They could have at very easily just have you hop on your ship hyperspace to the next space. So like the fact that it's there, and I can blow up TIE fighters makes me happy.
Yeah, and there's like all these different like weapons loadouts you can customize and like figure out, how you want to play the,
I do think there's a massive missed opportunity.
I miss squadrons.
There's no like first person like looking at the stupid like 70s like
HUD,
target computer
Yeah.
like stuff that like could happen that's like bad, but like what you want for this experience essentially.
It's too hard,
I don't want to
man.
say it's missed
It's too hard because you have to
That'd
be
be way
like
too
turn your
hard.
head. I mean, yeah.
It would be ridiculous. I don't think like that that's why you unlock like an auto cannon and all types of stuff that just
Squadrons
make
you could go
easier.
first person in the HUD and it was impossible.
But I almost think that would service this game in an incredible again, like I just it feels so gamified to me. Like
The game?
I almost think the game part of video game is a detriment to the medium because I feel like almost every game is like,
wild
hey, how
take.
about we
It's a
put
wild
platforming? How about we put this in there? It's like but you're like I just don't think open world meshes with like hyper gamified systems like platforming and climbing puzzles. And
this
like
game
I
less
just,
gamified.
I'm just like, you know what? I could walk through cities and talk to people, and that would be interesting enough if that was like extremely deep.
No, I see where you're coming from, Grant. Anytime I encounter a thing in this game where I have to like a climbing puzzle, and I'm like, really, I get a climbing puzzle now.
But like not one. How about like
I
400
know.
before the game?
Yeah,
And I'm like,
I
this
occasionally,
is so
like,
gamified.
How many vents am I climbing through?
I hate jump puzzles, but I haven't bumped up against it here. Like I've done a few, and I'm like, yep, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I've done like
they're
300.
super
You know what I hate
easy.
about this game is
I'm good.
This
on
game. So Grant, you sent us a quote from one of the game designers that talked about like, perhaps this game is a little too challenging at launch.
yeah.
Which
I beat it before launch. Like, there's mandatory stealth. Like, it just, I cheesed through some of that. I just like rolled to an elevator at one point, and I was like, no one saw me, and I just like jumped into an elevator, and I'm on a turbo lift, and I'm out of here. And it's just like that was so easy. And now they're patching it to make it easier, and I'm just like, I didn't think the mandatory stealth stuff was that challenging, and like I just don't.
The problem is the mandatory ones weren't. I got stuck in one that wasn't mandatory, but I got obsessed about trying to complete it. That's a me problem, not a game problem.
Well,
where the game player should have been like, maybe I'll back out of this, get some other stuff. Because if I backed out of it and upped my like stealth thing, I would have been fine. But like, there's other parts of this game where I'm like, I'm not an idiot, dude. Like sometimes I yell at the game where I'm like, every time I'm walking around, there's like an arrow that points up to show you where there's like a. Have you seen that? I'm like,
the painted arrow is just like around.
I'm like, come on.
No, it really holds your hand through.
I just don't know how it's hard when you can stun someone, nick someone, and then just throw a haymaker at a third person. I'm like, I just don't understand how this is hard. This is three. I just took down 3 people.
I don't think
there's stealth missions and there's stealth missions. There's one where I was just trying to take down 2 people, but they disarmed all my smoke grenades and my stun gun. And so it's like, well, how do you take out 2 people that are standing right next to each other then? I would just sit where I was.
You have to distract them and bring them around corners.
You
bring one guy around.
Yeah, I probably could have been patient, but the bottom line is I realized I did.
Probably could have been patient.
I realized I didn't even.
You can
need,
whistle too. Whistling's huge.
There's a whistle button.
Ben, we're gonna tell you. We're gonna tell you 10 different ways you could have done this properly.
Well, no. So I figured out like I didn't even need to take them down. There was like another route that I could have just gone, and it was fine.
Around,
there's like a back route everywhere too.
There's a million routes.
That was my first thing I said last podcast. Was there's always an easier route.
That's right.
That's what you were telling me, Ben, about the.
There's always a back way.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Look at a wall long enough that's towards the back side of a base. I swear you'll be able to climb it. Or
look at the front of the entrance. Go left, and then you'll be fine.
Or right. Yeah.
But no, it's
probably one on both sides.
I almost could have done with more quest givers and building out experts and building out some of the narrative characters.
You have to listen to the quest givers when they're talking to you. You can't just run by them.
I never skip them. I literally listen to every single thing that everyone says.
Did you do the
listen narrative?
Did you do the like all the expert card things? Like, did you find the like mercenary?
I've found every single expert, and I've done 3 unlocks with each at least each.
Nice.
Yes, I believe so. But not all of the unlocks. That's like a lot of time to spend you're checking boxes at that point. I got to keep my finger on the pulse of Star Wars, and I got to unlock Star Wars narratives as soon as possible. That's just my agenda. So it's like, I want to know what's going on and what this game's doing in the canon. Because again, we're talking about how canon is so important to current Star Wars.
Other point is, this is kind of where we were hoping we were going to be at some point, which is we want a lot of different Star Wars games in a lot of different formats, and that some of them are going to speak to people more than others, because right now this game is scratching what I like in gaming, which is not a lot of people's things, but I want so many unlocks and fetch quests and side missions. So I'm very happy about that, to the point where I'm not
and
really
that stuff's
paying
all
attention.
beautifully done too. They're like, it's just I think all the quest designs are great. And I'm not knocking the side mission plethora that you have in this game. It's incredible. It's actually one of the stronger pieces of the game. You know what I mean?
I'm not telling you you're wrong.
Yeah.
What I'm telling you is
you're saying you're finding a lot of enjoyment in the game.
Right. But when I sit there and when you ask me to take a look at the narrative, right there with you, dude. Like, the narrative on this seems to me so far passable. Like you know what I mean? Like, it seems light. It doesn't seem groundbreaking.
I don't want to rob you guys of your narrative encounters, because I think they're great.
You're not going to.
And there's 2 DLCs coming with.
Still hate the tree
I think
life.
the DLC is telling of. The DLCs of what you just said, Ben, is telling of how this intermingles with canon. And for me, it's like you didn't even need your Hondo Onakas and your Landas.
I never need Hondo Onaka.
Yeah, I personally never need a Hondo Onaka. I agree with you on that.
You're not going to make Hondo Onaka a thing.
Other than, I only need him as an animatronic at Disney because it's amazing. But other than that, I don't need him.
He is comic relief.
It's tough.
And I've had enough of it.
But like, to me, it's like, but if you're trying to do that, then you're trying to tell a strong narrative, because you're bringing in massive characters from the canon. But like, I just didn't think the narrative was that impactful to do that.
Yeah, I think every Star Wars that we've ever reviewed together, you've said the narrative hasn't been impactful enough. So I'm gonna feel okay about going ahead in this game and finding
Can I also say I'm also gonna be going ahead.
I hate that I'm taking this stance. I don't
know. Follow your heart.
I don't like it.
This is
it's
the
just more of like.
Take.
I just think that everything else in the game is incredibly strong. And like, am I going to boot this game up to go to Tatooine and just like stand in Mos Eisley? Yes, I am.
Which is
I'm
not
going
a
to boot this game up to go just be on Tatooine for like, 20 minutes, and then like, relish in that, because this game is just captures that environment so beautifully. And it's like, so many good things to say about it.
Grant, you're just like my professor, who once gave me an A- and took me aside and said, anyone else, this would have been an A.
That's great. Yeah, because you.
And did that motivate me? No. Did it make me think that guy was a? No,
you have a deep love for the subject, and you want to see. You just want to create some obstacles, because you want to see greatness, right? You want to see that next thing be like, no one can give it a 7.5. This is a 9 out of 10. Period. Like, done. We did it. So, we made the Star Wars experience that everyone's ever wanted, and we thought the Acolyte was going to be the show we've always wanted too. I think if you listen to our hype about the Acolyte before it came out, we were like, this is our
that show suffered because of my expectations of that show.
We had huge expectations for that show, but I don't know. I think it delivered, honestly. The Chimera Stranger stuff, like, kind of.
Well, it delivered in places I did not wasn't thinking it would. Does that make sense? Like, it did, which is my own fault.
The hard part was a slow start, but like strong payoff.
I mean, Chimera.
That was supposed to be the hard part. Was the antagonist, and it was like Chimera was the best part.
It like came naturally, and it was like incredible.
Best. Yeah, best. Anyway,
but again, I just don't think the show was like incredible. Like, it was great. It was like fantastic. Really good. The dark side, explorations were.
It had so many things going for it. It had other things it needed to work on for season 2, similar to this game. Other things it needs to work on for the second game. But I'm with you, Grant, because like Jedi Survivor. I will always talk about the fact that has like some of the Jedi moments I love the most of all of Star Wars is in that game. One of them, which is when him reminding whatever sister who used to be a Jedi of, like, you were, like, when he's telling her who she was before she turned into an Inquisitor, and has to like basically put her down. It's like it's like killing Old Yeller, right? Like it's killing a rabid dog.
But it's Seventh Sister.
But it's Seventh Sister. But it's amazing. Like I remember watching that happening live as the game was happening, and I was like literally getting choked up.
It's very good.
Isn't he
It
channeling the
is
dark side at the
reveals.
same time when he's doing that?
No, I don't think at that moment. I think that moment he is full Jedi. That moment he's full Jedi because he's like, I don't. This is the only thing. I hate that I have to do this, but I have to. Like I'm trying. Like because he tries that whole time to bring her back to light, and it's not working. And he realizes the only thing he can do is to end her suffering. He's ending her suffering. Right? Is this moment of just like pure. So my point is like that's an amazing moment. I never ever expected after like 5 minutes playing this game, nothing's gonna happen in this game. That's gonna make me feel like.
So that's so interesting. It's so interesting because I think maybe it's just because of where the game is focused, and for me, it's like if you're focused on open world and like hundreds and hundreds of Easter eggs and locations we know and love that are iconic and characters that we know and love that are iconic, I almost think you don't have to do as much with the story. Therefore, I argue that maybe player expression is the better angle.
You're like just remove the story. Just pull back.
It's literally just remove that story. Because what you're saying about Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order,
and I'm with you on that,
is right on target. Right, their focus is the narrative in those games.
It's because it's so on the rails. It's so linear.
Therefore, I have the opposite complaints in Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order. My complaints are mechanical and somewhat systemic. Like I almost wish that you could walk around cities in Jedi Fallen Order and have to like use the hitman, like cover your head, like hide from Imperial sort of system because you're a Jedi and hiding. Like I almost thought you needed some stealth in that game to like, and maybe some hub worlds where it's like you are concealing your identity constantly to Imperials, to droid sentinels outside doors, like to all types of stuff that's happening around you that you have to like. I don't know if you guys play the Hitman games, but you can like literally look to the hold a button to look away from like an onlooking stormtrooper or something. Like to me, I thought the games were missing some mechanical detail and some open world aspects to them, like hub kind of designs. We're walking through crowds and more of like pedestrians walking around like you have in this game. This game has so many pedestrians walking around. It's my dream of sort of an environment in Star Wars in that you have droids rolling around and protocol droids and lots of citizens. And
always I love I'm with you, Grant, because I love the story of Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. The mechanics are fun in terms of like the fighting mechanics, but occasionally I'm like, I have killed how many stormtroopers with a lightsaber, and Luke Skywalker's the one who's most wanted. Like right. I'm out there like just chopping up like what?
Yeah, the game's
what is
the
like
game's
I'm like Luke Skywalker ain't got nothing on me when I'm playing this game.
Those games kind of suffer from power creep, right? Like,
a little bit.
In my opinion, it's like you are just so incredibly.
You're getting like Force Unleashed territory,
and then like Marin is so incredibly powerful. I was like, how are these two not
teleport?
Just like
she can teleport
like eater? Like I have no idea. And like the game has such incredible highs in terms of its intermingling with canon, where it's like Seri Junda versus Darth Vader in like Jeddah in like the archives that they built, and I was just like, how can you talk trash about this? This is such a cool scene. Like this is so huge and adventurous and awesome and like undeniably cool. And it's like, and again, those are like big story moments of cross sections with canon that like for me like work. And then when they don't work, I'm just like, why do we even want, like, if the focus is systems in an open world, maybe just play to that.
Just be open world. Yeah. Just be open world and don't
open world plot all that much. This is a little bit of a non sequitur, but you talked about like teleporting Marin. Have you guys fought the Crimson Dawn? And but their like leader will throw a smoke bomb and disappear, and teleport like around the room. It's kind of fun.
No,
it's like Death Stick. It's like fighting every single one of their commanders are like Death Stick. Yeah. And they'll like throw a smoke bomb and like reappear somewhere else.
Wait, so I've only been excellent with Crimson Dawn since the beginning. So you're poor with Crimson Dawn, or you're bad with Crimson Dawn?
I've already maxed it, and then but it doesn't matter. There's certain sections of certain bases.
I did.
Oh, you can always build back.
You can always build back. But like, even if you're maxed, there are certain sections that you can't go in
Oh yeah, they
Yeah,
still
you end up fighting
Yeah.
everyone no matter what. But I don't remember if they were Crimson Dawn, but I did remember fighting someone who dropped the smoke bomb and disappeared. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's Crimson Dawn.
what? That's not real. Like we can't
I just
do
remember
that.
Death
Like I
Sticks,
got mad
bro.
at the game for a
Remember
second.
Bounty Hunters?
They're
Like
like-
your favorite character, Death Sticks? Death Stick.
My name's Cigarette.
Yeah.
That's who I
Yeah,
am.
she could do that.
My killer name is Cigarette.
I
Sorry,
don't know. It's kind of cool.
I hate it.
It's just like,
That was.
I mean,
I
it's
don't-
cool that like each different.
Don't find the character.
I mean, character. Yeah, that name's not cool.
Yeah, that I'm about.
But it's just like the
We
fact that
talk
like
about the-
each like syndicate that you fight has different fight mechanics. Like that's cool.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I
It's
totally
so
like that.
cool. Yeah, and the enemies
That's
you
very cool.
encounter are different based on, like, I don't know. For me, it's like
I hate those pike guys.
yeah,
that
I constantly robbed the pikes and like
Oh, yeah, pikes
constantly.
It's so hard not to
Yeah,
just dunk on the
upset the
pikes the
pikes.
whole time.
I
just dunked on them the entire time. I feel so bad. And then like now I'm rebuilding it. I think I'm in poor
Yeah.
or like good. I don't know. I'm in the
I'm
middle.
in bad
now.
right now.
Okay.
I'm
I'm
poor.
getting
I
better.
need to
I'm
take a shower
good.
after I do like a pike job. I'm like, ugh.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
know.
I don't know. It's like spice running. Like I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's
I don't know what the
grimy. I don't want to do it. That's like they're gonna be the last syndicate that I like. Really.
well.
But
yeah,
you have to.
Ben,
keep
I
it.
can't wait till you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My next goal, I think, after I do all stuff, is get excellent with all the syndicates, because they all like you said, they all will eventually give you like against
Yeah,
the Galactic
and-
Empire one. So I'm just gonna keep
Oh,
taking.
so
Galactic
this
Empire
reminds
ones
me of a
until I get
question I
excellent
had
with
for
all
you, Adam. What's your
Mm-hmm.
stealth loadout?
Oh, like in terms of what?
What
In terms of
gear
what I'm
you're
wearing
using?
and all
Yeah,
that
because
stuff?
you've
Let
talked
me,
about it a couple times. Is it the Crimson Dawn
So-
loadout?
Yeah, I think right now I have. I have the
How
Nar
sick
Shaddaa
is that
Thief
attire?
Vest.
Oh my god.
So the Nar Shaddaa Thief Vest is I gain a large amount of adrenaline when performing a stealth takedown, which I do a ton.
Okay.
And then I thought I had another one. Oh, I think they're charms. Maybe is what I'm rocking right now.
Yeah, I've been wearing the singular black vest with like a red sash belt the entire game, like Luke from
Yeah,
Return
yeah.
of the Jedi. Like I have been black the entire game, and it's been awesome.
That's a clean.
Like,
That's a nice look.
the second I unlock that, it's a stealth boost. I think attire.
I unlocked the Vandor attire, which is like a health boost one. I'm pretty close on a Ruffian attire. I've got the Crimson
Yeah.
Dawn and the Ashiga clan full like kits too, and I've just been.
I unlocked
mixing
Crimson
and
Dawn
matching.
first, and I rocked it for a little bit, but I was like, this is too ornate for
Mm.
like being like a street level scoundrel. Like
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to like, I don't know, look a little bit more like a scoundrel,
Yeah.
like a classic Han Solo.
You look
kinda
like you belong on the yacht, the Crimson Dawn yacht there.
It's so
with Kira
yeah,
and why can't I
very
think
posh.
of who's the guy that runs the yacht?
Dryden
Voss.
Voss.
It's like you're chilling with Dryden
Yeah.
in like a VIP lounge.
Yeah.
But it's
And
a clean look.
Yeah.
It's a clean look. I have I unlocked the Crimson Dawn paint job on the ship, and it's tight. I've been rolling.
Yeah.
But I like
Yeah.
cycling through all the different like aesthetics. I'm such a sucker for gear. I love unlocking like full kits, and I'm like, oh, that'll be fun. That'd be nice to have in the in the hopper.
The second I unlocked the black vest with the red sash, I was like, I'm wearing this for the rest of the game.
This
This
is
is
it.
my K vest. And then I wear like the winter attire from
In
the
Kijimi,
Shiga
yeah.
clan. Kijimi, I wear, and just when I'm there, do
Yeah,
I
me
put that
too.
on? And that's all I do for the game. I just wear that the black attire, and then I wear the snow gear. I do want to get better with the pike so I can unlock that ISB uniform. I was like, that thing is awesome.
uniform. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
encountered
that's
that.
your
It's not.
little-
You
Psyched
can
about
see
that.
it. It's not a spoiler. It's just at the bottom.
No,
there.
no,
Just-
that's fine.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
unlock, and I forgot that's what the pike one is.
What's the boost there? Like Imperial? Is it like Imperials don't like lower detection rate from Imperials or something? I don't even know. It's very
Oh,
cool.
So I was just looking through. What I'm doing is, so you know, like the slicer expert.
Expert? Yeah.
Yeah, I've just maxed out everything I can do there.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's
so
a
that's
great
the one that's
one.
giving me all the I have smoke bombs. I have the idea that like I can sabotage all the panels. It reduces by their ability to detect me by half
Yeah.
when
Right.
moving. So that was the big one, and then a couple of the other loadouts. So it's like when I have those two going, I feel like I can literally just like
walk in?
I don't have to crouch it. I don't crouch anymore. I just walk everywhere I go. It's great. Yeah, and occasionally run up and just deck someone. If
That's
it's
so
not-
funny. You
yeah,
just
so-
roadhouse them.
Yeah, but I just since I've done that, I just have not I haven't really been caught and thrown out of anything in a while. I will
Did you guys improve
occasionally-
your health or anything like that yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my health.
This charms.
Yeah, health I'm working on.
I've unlocked.
Yeah,
that was the thing I unlocked, like a pouch actually, like.
I think the story just gets incredibly difficult. I mean, like, of course, any story gets harder as you go along, but it's like just unlocking the health is huge for certain things. Because there's like certain forced encounters. It's like, how many more waves are my I don't know, I'm out of thermals. I'm like out of everything. Like,
well, the other thing is, so many people drop Bacta.
Yeah.
That Bacta's constantly
but you gotta
being
nix.
dropped,
You gotta use nix from
you
cover
do
sometimes.
to
It gets
get
so
it.
hairy.
Yeah, you can't just kill a person and get back to.
Oh,
you have to use
so
Nyx
hairy.
to do it.
I mean, I think you guys are
roll
playing.
over that.
I think you guys are playing very differently than I do because I run. There'll be like 7 people blasting at me, and I'll just run because you'll barely ever get hit. Just run, grab the Bacta, run into the cover, and you got Bacta. Just run up and punch
Yeah, but
another
to
dude in the
unlock the
face and then
Bacta,
go
you
run.
have to use Nyx to sort of as a part of the takedown to do it, or usually like stealth takedowns, you'll get the Bacta.
I don't like getting.
I don't know.
hit.
When
I
I'm
don't like
knocking
getting
people
hit by
out,
too
I'm
many
getting them.
blasters.
I think maybe because I'm using melee, I'm getting more Bacta.
That could
Maybe
be,
that's what's
that could
going
be
on.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder.
So
I'll have
when
to
you
pay
hit
attention
people,
next
do
time.
they always go down, or do you have to?
Well,
hit them
except for
a
like
couple
there's
times sometimes?
most of them, except for
Some
like,
heavies will
you have to
push
hit
you
them.
back.
You have to hit them a couple times, but you can hit them a couple times and you won't get blasted by most people around you. Then you
'Cause
roll
they're,
over.
Like,
knock
you
the
cannot
knife
hit.
back
I
a
ran
times.
up and tried to like knock
No.
a death trooper out
No,
one
you
time,
can't hit
and I was just like, nope.
What are you doing? What are you doing? No.
I ran
So,
into
like,
a
my whole
heavy
thing
with
is-
like the minigun, and he was just like no,
Oh, yeah.
and he just like hit me with the
No.
minigun, and I was like and fell back.
Also, when a minigun shows up, yeah, I'm undercover. I'm taking that guy out, and then I'm running around basically I just take out all the low level people as fast as I can with punches.
How many thermals do you just whip at like a certain heavies where you're just like all three are going out right now? Like how fast can I right arrow or left arrow to my next thermal and just toss
I
them?
always forget I have adrenaline. That's the thing that I still have to keep reminding myself is to do a quick draw.
That's another why I would argue to progress, because
Yeah.
of all the things you can upgrade to be stronger
Adrenaline.
and make the game easier for yourself. There's some sort of like adrenaline stuff that you can unlock later. That's like
I have a lot of unlocks
that I'm working on. I think it's the what's it called, like brawler kit or something like that. It's all adrenaline.
Yeah. It's very similar to me. Is like I have a lot of my charms and other stuff are adrenaline based, so like I rack up the adrenaline pretty quickly.
Yeah. It's in speeder now. I realize like if you just like do a couple hard turns and like weave in and out of the people, you will like instantly
you will get
your adrenaline up on the speeder.
Maneuver. You keep just mashing that, and it's like it builds up faster.
Yeah, I can get that going pretty well, and yeah, I'm pretty much fearless on my speeder now, and fearless in the starship, which is fun.
Me too, unless I hit a rock.
Yeah, and then
it's more of like you're the greatest danger.
Yeah,
when you're.
It's true. Modes. Exactly. Yeah, I injured myself. I've hurt myself more on the speeder than anyone has hurt me.
Have you actually broken down your speeder where you have to fix it?
So no, but I keep getting close because I keep hearing it going. Like I'm like, this thing sounds.
I did
rough.
it today. So this is
What
in
happened?
my madcap dash across like Tashara like 6 times while being chased by like 100 bandits, and then like also and in the entire empire was like on my tail, and of course I like nicked a sign or something, and it stopped, and I walked up to the thing trying to jump on it, and it was like, fix your speeder, and you just kick it from the back.
That's
and
amazing.
it fixes, and you get on it,
I'm
and you
be like running into rocks to get it.
and you just kick
awesome.
it, and you're like, ugh, and then you just jump on and go away.
That's awesome. I love it,
man. Maybe we should call it there. It's been quite a good run here. On the stream, you can tell that there's just a big Skype logo over where Grant's face was. So he seems to have maybe gone behind an asteroid or something. But
everything's fine here. Situation normal.
Thanks for letting us sort of do our thing here and run from the hip and talk about latest stuff and geek out on this game. So fun.
Yeah.
And we will talk to you again next week. I'm not sure what's on there. I think we've got some comics in the hopper that we're.
Do you want to? Should we? Yeah. Do you want to like call comics and just?
Let's do comics.
I have it up.
Yeah. What are we gonna do?
We can do Star Wars main run. I think it's 47 to 49, but whatever that last run is, and then the High Republic Adventures, I think 6 to 10 is done, and then there was also the Kalnaka one shot.
Oh, it's a one shot.
Standalone.
Oh, I thought it was going to be
one
a series.
shot. If we want to do a
Okay.
I think it's a one shot. I'm pretty sure. So if it is, do you want to do those
Bing,
three?
bang, boom. Let's do it. Love it. That'll be great. Awesome, guys. Super fun. And thanks very much for listening to us, all of you, as always. We will talk to you next week. Drinks in hand on
Cantina Chronicles.